The tower was in the lake, Lake Worth, when it signed on in 1936. Long before that, the lake was fresh water. Sometime in the 1800s, some genius decided to dig a canal between the lake and the ocean, and it became brackish, with tides. This, of course, enhanced the ground conductivity, very important to AM stations. At extremely low tide, you could actually see the ground system under the tower. The transmission line from the studio and transmitter to the tower ran underneath Flagler Drive. In 1936, it may not have even existed, or just a dirt road. By 1969, it was quite a busy highway. Now, sadly, the tower is gone, and so is the building. Before its move to 1290, WJNO operated at 1230 with 250 watts round the clock. In the early 70s, they increased power, as you will see right here. Mornings were handled by Ray Marsh, and that's his son Barry next to him. He also had a son Randy. Both became very successful broadcasters. Other members of the air staff were Jim Kern, Lou Warren, the Mystery Jock, and this guy right here, Tom McCarthy. Tom has an IQ that is off the charts and a voice to match.
Well, let's see now. Well, you might start at broadcasting school.
Oh, beautiful, Gary.
Yeah, and you'd like to get into radio, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it takes a lot of practice to be as good as Gary Owen, especially to get as far as I have.
Oh, boy.
On occasion, Tom and I would interact on the air. Afterward, I always felt like a soprano because of his beautiful voice. On occasion, and off the air in the production room, there would be a bit of tomfoolery.
I seek not gaiety nor mirth, nor the bright voluptuousness of...
Oh, damn. You should have just stuck it in here instead of planting it on the floor, man. Had to go to the John. He couldn't wait to get out there to that fire hydrant or that...
To see how that sounds. Yeah.
What happened? We're off. There goes Captain Happy.
Tom's terrific sense of humor is reflected here.
I don't know. I think of pulling hemp.
You think of pulling hemp?
A tour of the control room reveals a Gates Ambassador. These boards were primarily produced for television audio, but I've seen them in several radio stations. From left to right, the first three pots were for dedicated audio sources. For example, the studio mic, maybe the network, and a newsroom. Audio sources that were frequently used. The two rows of buttons provided audio to the pots on either side of them, but mechanically could start cart machines, tape decks, and turntables. From the lobby, there was a large window that looked right into the control room. We are now looking into the production room. WJNO was a personality-oriented middle-of-the-road station with a special emphasis on local news. City council meetings and other local affairs were always covered. Yes, that is a typewriter in the newsroom. Other news gathering tools were the cart machine and this classic Magnacorder, seen in many newsrooms and, for that matter, control rooms at various radio stations. They were truly a workhorse, and the audio sounded great. WJNO produced a fair amount of local content, like these features.
Peggy Cochran here with Gal on the Go. Haven't you enjoyed this favorite DJ campaign I have? Brooks Universal Travel will take you to Portugal. Right now I'm deep in the story of the first wife of Henry VIII.
Traffic safety tips from Sergeant Billy O'Brien of the Florida Highway Patrol.
Are you driving your car right now? If so, are you following another car? It is very important to self that you maintain the proper living room between your car and the car you're following. If you don't allow the proper living space, the car in front may make a sudden stop, and you might go up his tailpipe. This is awfully hard on your car. Thank you.
The production room was well maintained and very functional, despite the vintage equipment. Note the old salt and pepper style microphone next to the 77DX. What looks like an old Gates board is in use. It was kept spotless, as well as the rest of the room. In the spring of 1973, a new 1 kilowatt transmitter was installed. This would provide the 1,000 watt daytime signal. Almost looks like Jerry Clabundi there. Wait a minute, that is Jerry Clabundi. As I recall, the nighttime power was still 250 watts. To get the increased power to the tower, a new transmission line was needed. This proved to be a challenge. Since it wasn't practical to dig a trench across Flagler Drive, it was decided to cut the old transmission line, attach it to the new transmission line, and just pull it through. After another unsuccessful attempt, we see Jerry emerging from under the building. Jerry Clabundi went on to be a highly respected engineer in the Buffalo area. When everything else had failed, it was decided to call in a tow truck. Success! Early in 1973, WJNO FM took to the air. This would involve building a 400-foot tower in the parking lot and back of the building. The structure you're looking at is the engineering suite. It would also house the FM transmitter. The tower went up and up and up. And finally was completed. WJNO FM was on the air with music just for the two of us. The guys on the AM were in charge of changing the tapes. If they should run out, it would be silence for the two of us. Well, we hope you enjoyed Radio Remembers WJNO.
WJNO 1230.
What radio station will we remember next? Why not subscribe and find out?